From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
Good morning and thanks for joining us today. I'm Max Darrow. Welcome to our Saturday showcase. We begin with changes and who will represent San Franciscans in the years to come, both in City Hall and in Washington. In a moment, Kelsey Thorud will show us who is vying to succeed Nancy Pelosi in Congress now that she has decided she will not seek re-election. But first to Andrea Nakano and the woman who was just sworn in 2 days ago as a city supervisor.
I state your name.
I, Bea Alcaraz,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
On her 29th birthday, Isabella Bea Alcaraz was appointed as the new District 4 supervisor.
In the spirit of healing and moving forward, I will work to bring all the residents of this district together to secure the future of the Sunset. This is our chance to have a seat at the table. We do have the power to make change.
Supervisor Alcaraz is a newcomer on the political scene, a graduate of SI. She owned a local pet store, then became an art and music teacher for kids. Mayor Daniel Lurie says he met Alcaraz at Sunset After Dark, and she stood out from many of the other candidates.
You deserve someone who understands the Sunset and Parkside because they live it and breathe it. You deserve someone who is of the Sunset and works for the Sunset.
What many in the Sunset want to know is where she stands on the issue of the Great Highway being turned into Sunset Dunes Park. Lucas Lux, who is the president of the Friends of Sunset Dunes, says after 5 years and 2 ballot measures, there's no question it should remain a park.
If you bring cars back here, it is a park closure. You can't have park improvements. You rip out the skate park. You rip out the seating. Attendance during the pilot proved that people want to be at the coast, and building simple improvements for them to enjoy has already doubled attendance.
In a statement, Vin Budai, who founded Open the Great Highway, wrote, "The Sunset community has made clear that effective leadership begins with listening. Supervisor Engardio's unwillingness to engage with his constituents ultimately led to his recall. We hope Supervisor Alcaraz takes a different path, one rooted in transparency, collaboration, and respect for the residents she serves." While people wait to hear her stance on the Sunset Dunes Park, they are also curious about how she feels about the mayor's family zoning plan to build taller and denser housing. It's a plan that has drawn criticism from some on the west side. Alcaraz says she just wants to do what's best for the community.
I don't want people to just feel included. I want to actually include them. As your supervisor, if that means working towards a compromise on the Great Highway, then that's what we'll do. If that means making an amendment to the family zoning plan to strengthen it and help us maintain local control, I'm prepared to take that action.
Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi has, of course, been a powerful figure in the Bay Area and the rest of the country for decades. But at 85 years old, she is now planning on retiring at the end of her current term. Kelsey Thorud shows us who wants to replace her and tells us why more candidates may be jumping into the race.
For the first time in 40 years, San Francisco will have a new representative in Congress after Election Day 2026. And whoever succeeds Nancy Pelosi knows they'll have some big shoes to fill.
San Franciscans set the bar very, very high. And you need to have a moral compass and core values. You need to have a backbone of steel. And you need to know how to get things done.
You know, when she first went into Congress, she was this fearless voice that was fighting to get help for the AIDS epidemic that was devastating the city at that time. And because she was fearless, because she spoke out and she fought, we got money and we got help, and she actually did a lot for that. And, you know, what I sort of feel right now, when I look at the country right now, I think San Francisco needs that again.
State Senator Scott Wiener and Shoykot Chakrabarty, a former tech executive and chief of staff to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have thrown their hats in the ring. Both men are 30-plus years younger than Pelosi and lean farther to the left on the political spectrum.
I really don't think the divide and the generational change that's happening is about left versus center. I really think it's a difference of status quo versus change, right? Are we going to have a new party of leaders who know how to fight to stop this coup and use every tool at their disposal to stop Trump right now? And will we have an actual vision to create an economy that works for people?
I'm proud to be running to represent San Francisco in Congress, and it would be just an incredible honor to take the work we've done around housing, healthcare, clean energy, civil rights to Washington.
Caroline Heldman, a professor of politics at Occidental College, says whoever wins Pelosi's seat will have the eyes of not only the Bay Area, but the entire country on them.
Given the fact that Nancy Pelosi is arguably the most powerful woman in U.S. political history, anyone who is taking her seat is going to get a lot of focus, at least during their first term in the House.
Caroline expects there may be even more candidates that enter the race for Pelosi's seat, but no matter who wins next November, she expects they will have much more liberal views than the former speaker. It's something Caroline says is a sign of the times, but one that doesn't take away from Pelosi's legacy.
I'm not sure she could get elected today, given her centrist position and the divisiveness in the country, but her leadership was so important in maintaining a balance of power between the legislative branch and the executive branch, and that balance does not exist today.
First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz joins us live now on this Saturday morning. And Zoe, you wanted to showcase something sweet today.
Yeah, beautiful sunrise, although you wouldn't necessarily believe me just looking at our windows behind us. This is on top of our roof here at KPIX. It's foggy out there.
And that's a live look for people who don't realize. That is a live picture.
This is current outside. It should be a view of the Bay Bridge, but it is so foggy out there. You can't see anything. And maybe even a little bit misty. There's about 1/100 of an inch of rain that was reported early this morning over near Ocean Beach. Yeah, not a whole lot, but it's something that maybe your windshield wipers will be going for. Give yourself an extra minute or two. But what I also want to show off is above the clouds, how gorgeous it is. Oh, the colors were so vibrant, and the sun reflecting on the tops of the clouds as it kind of just moves its way across the city. It's one of my favorite things to look at to start the day,
every single morning.
I know, because
never gets old.
It's always different. It's never the same. That's why I love my job, because it's always different every day. The weather's never the same, and it's going to continue to get warmer and warmer through the weekend. My job is really fun because I get to talk about fun weather this weekend. Right now, though, not as much fun because there's a little bit of fog from down in Morgan Hill to our North Bay communities. North Bay is definitely the worst, where that visibility is down to less than a half a mile in places like Napa, Santa Rosa, Petaluma, even Pacifica. You're down to less than a quarter of a mile. Downtown San Francisco, Oakland, about a mile, mile and a half. Either way, though, I'd still suggest give yourself an extra minute or two early this morning. The fog is going to continue to peel back throughout the afternoon hours, maybe a little bit of that marine layer, especially closer to our North Bay coastal communities. But overall, we're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine. And the beach hazards that have been in effect for the past couple of days, they're luckily going to subside by late this morning. There is still that beach hazard statement in effect, as there are going to be high rip currents and swells through the late morning hours, as well as a coastal flood advisory in effect all across the Bay Area, because high tide, let's go to that coastal flood advisory, it's at 12:30 today. After that, things should be quieting down, calming down, and our temperatures will be warming up from the mid to lower 50s right now to the 70s this afternoon, and 80s are just around the corner before that next chance for rain. I'll break down the details that you need to know coming up in my full forecast. Back to you, Max.
We'll look forward to that. Thanks, Zoe. Coming up after the break, the people who created the largest affordable housing project that Santa Cruz County has ever seen. They're providing a measure of hope for those who are trying to find a new life off the streets. Welcome back. Now to the latest efforts to ease the housing crunch in Northern California. In a moment, Brad Hamilton will introduce us to a woman already living in San Francisco's Presidio who welcomes a plan to build nearly 200 new apartments there. But first, I caught up with people leading a project in Santa Cruz County aimed at helping some of the area's least fortunate residents. For anyone living on the street, life can be both simple and complex. This man knows both realities.
7 years, I think.
He is one of the nearly 1,500 homeless people living in Santa Cruz County.
There'd be some people that you'd be surprised, that are homeless, I'd say.
And just as there is no one face to homelessness, there's no one-size-fits-all solution to solving it.
We still have a long way to go to meet the need.
But Phil Kramer, the CEO of Housing Matters, is confident that this building, when complete, will play a role in changing lives.
And this is a big solution to homelessness.
It is called Harvey West Studios. With 120 studio apartments and essential services on site, it will be the largest permanent supportive housing project ever conceived and created in Santa Cruz County.
You know, this has been 8 years in the making, and we need more of this.
According to the latest point-in-time count, Santa Cruz County's homeless population declined by about 20% year over year.
What's working in Santa Cruz County to help people get housed is really connecting as best we can every unhoused individual, family, veteran, whoever it might be, with a person, with a case manager, a social worker, a housing navigator to help them on their journey.
Gina Harris, the project manager with Mid-Penn Housing, says the project is about 58% complete.
120 studios is a very enormous feat in affordable housing.
Kramer says more housing across the board is needed in the county.
It's not the most expensive housing market. It is the least affordable, comparing area median income rents with income. So across the country, Santa Cruz County is the least affordable housing market.
Even though Harvey West Studios isn't finished yet, Kramer is already thinking towards the future, as the number of people who will be eligible to live here will far exceed the capacity.
Certainly there are more people, right? More than 120, which will kind of beg the next question is like, do we do this again? You know, do we do another project like this?
This man says he's heard a bit about the project. He thinks it'll be helpful for those who want to make a change.
People that want the help can seek that out. That's about what you could ask for, right?
The project is scheduled to finish in the summer of 2026. A substantial amount of new housing may soon be coming to San Francisco's Presidio, situated on federal land. Brad Hamilton introduces us to a longtime resident who is enthusiastic about the plan and to the city supervisor who believes this will boost the Presidio's bottom line.
Tessa McMillan has lived in the Presidio for 20 years, but this walk and her life in this space never gets old.
I feel like I've been really fortunate to be able to bring my family here, be around nature, and be able to use a park that should be open to the public.
But if there's one thing missing in the Presidio, in her mind, it's the opportunity for others.
We need more space. And I'm happy, I think, having lived here a long time, I'm happy to share the space.
When you think about the historic character of the Presidio...
And now, the Presidio Trust confirms that a brand new development is in the works. San Francisco Supervisor Stephen Sherrill represents neighborhoods in the area around the Presidio.
Opening up the Presidio for as many families and people to live here and work here is something that I'm really excited about.
The Presidio Trust sent us renderings of what it would look like, turning this empty parking space into so much more. 196 units in 6 apartment buildings with studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom spaces.
You look at the new designs, I think it's incredibly thoughtful how they went into it. And that's
the supervisor showed us the space where it would go on Eddy Road and why he felt it belonged here.
The best part of this project is they're taking unoccupied, vacant buildings that are not part of the historic character of the Presidio. Actually, they're really kind of ugly, and they're building some beautiful new buildings for people to be able to live here and really enjoy one of the most majestic parts of the city.
Another benefit is the revenue it would generate. In a statement to KPIX, the deputy chief of the Presidio Trust highlighted the need for new housing as a way to keep fueling the federally owned national parks economy. The Presidio has a unique structure where it's entirely self-sufficient with its operations and its finances. Housing makes up about 35% of the revenue it needs to operate.
We're going to see this building redeveloped. Most special places in the federal government's portfolio, period, and it is one of the only revenue positive parts of the federal government. And I think it's a great project. It really uplifts the history and the unique character of the Presidio.
Maintaining history and natural beauty with new housing is a concept not seen often in the Presidio. But residents like Tessa McMillan feel that will be embraced by the community because of their willingness and want to share it.
Yeah, and I hope it stays like that. So the Presidio really has to understand the importance of, how the residents feel about that. That community is number one for us.
Coming up, the federal agency that tracks earthquakes has gone dark during the government shutdown. When we come back, we'll hear from an expert about how this could hurt the Bay Area's response in the event of a major earthquake.
And it's a foggy start to our morning across a lot of the Bay Area, but it's a thin layer of fog that's quickly going to lift with a lot of sunshine likely today and getting warmer into early next week before our next chance for rain arrives. I'll break down everything you need to know coming up in my full forecast.
Welcome back. Right now, the U.S. Geological Survey is not doing any work because of the government shutdown. Brian Hackney introduces us to a man who spent his career there. Says he's worried about the risks right now if that big earthquake were to hit the big Bay Area.
This is the USGS doing what it does best.
270 degrees, 41.2 seconds.
Informing the public about quakes.
Yeah, that's showing the actual offset.
What will happen before one hits and what happens after.
Everything's been pretty well recon.
But for now, their lips are sealed. Try reaching USGS. You'll get an automated response reading in part that because of the shutdown, they're prohibited from conducting work as a federal employee. But despite that prohibition,
I think everything will change at the occurrence of a big quake.
Okay. Geophysicist Ross Stein spent a lifetime at USGS.
I can't speak for the survey, but I spent 30 years there, and I know an awful lot of good people there, and wild horses couldn't keep them from working on the quake.
Even though they're forbidden from returning phone calls and emails until further notice?
It's my understanding that in an emergency, the USGS would permit direct communication with the scientists to continue talking with the public.
Some things are still up and running because they're automated.
Earthquake early warning that could potentially give the public seconds of notification before the strong shaking begins.
And before a big quake? Could clues to an impending quake go unnoticed because of the shutdown? Case in point, the Lake Elsman quakes in the late 80s, 2 magnitude 5s that now look like warning signals that Loma Prieta was about to snap, which it did.
Yes, in retrospect, those Lake Elsman earthquakes do indeed look like foreshocks, but we're no farther in our ability to use earthquakes like that, moderate little guys, magnitude 5s, to forecast the occurrence of the next earthquake. So the short answer is we'll miss those clues again, but it's not because of the shutdown per se, it's because it's so hard to read those tea leaves.
So that speaks for USGS, but what about the other federal agencies that it would have to coordinate with in the event of something big happening?
Now you've hit a soft spot. That would be very hard to do. Again, I feel people would improvise, people would do their best to make that work, but that coordination is something which will be made much harder during a shutdown.
Okay, so there will be a response, but it will not be as efficient as it would have been if the government had been up and running.
Probably so.
First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz joins us live now on this Saturday morning. And Zoe, gray start to the day, but you were telling me earlier, one of the most beautiful weekends in November to expect?
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous out there. So if you want to get out and enjoy the 70s or 80s all across the Bay Area, that includes the coast. Yeah, 70s in store for the coast.
In November.
November, yeah, this is the weekend for it. Although you might not believe me because it's so foggy out there, it's gray, but you can see above the clouds. This is our view from on top of Sutro Tower. It's really lovely. It's very fun to watch the fog roll in our valley communities. We're so lucky to live in the Bay. Right?
Sure are.
We really are. And it's going to be a lovely weekend out there, all thanks to high pressure that's going to continue to dominate all across the west coast of the United States. We are not the only one that are dealing with the area of high pressure. And as many of you know, high pressure brings quieter, warmer, sunnier weather. That's what we're all going to be experiencing through the weekend of weather. Ahead of us is deflecting all of the cloud coverage off and away from the west coast of the United States. Taking it a little closer to home, again, it is quiet, it is calm, it is clear here. I mean, not so clear. In fact, there's a little fog, but other than that, it's not really many issues early this morning. Temperatures right now are cool, but by the afternoon, they'll be warming up into the 70s. Like I said, widespread across the Bay Area. even low 70s in downtown San Francisco, upper 60s closer to our coastal communities. But look at tomorrow. These colors that you see in a little bit orangey red will get more widespread and dark red because the 80s are in store from our inland East Bay to our North Bay, all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. It is going to be well above average. And even for our coastal communities, those high temperatures in the low 70s. This is tomorrow afternoon, upper 70s in downtown San Francisco. It's going to be hot out there, in fact, for most of the Bay Area. Enjoy it while you can because we are already tracking our next chance for rain. So if you're living in Salinas, Santa Cruz, Monterey, or even farther inland like Hollister, you're also going to be dealing with the upper 70s to 80s all across the area. Enjoy it while you can because there is going to be rain on the way as we step out into mid next week. High pressure, though, will dominate at least through the early parts of the upcoming week, all before that chance for rain moves in. So through Sunday, Monday, sunny skies, warm conditions. By Tuesday, cloud coverage will arrive, slightly cooler weather. And then by Wednesday, the widespread rainfall will be moving over California. And it's likely going to bring heavier rainfall, and it's going to be lasting a little bit longer than this past week's system. So it's something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on as we step out late Thursday and into Friday. But there are still a good amount of uncertainties when it comes to this upcoming system. What we do know for sure is that late Wednesday and into Thursday, that will be the best potential of the more widespread activity. And it might even stick around late Thursday and into Friday. But there is still a good amount of question marks on the exact totals and timing. Let's look at the European versus the American model. The European model has that rain moving in a lot earlier in the day Wednesday and then sticking around basically all day Wednesday, getting heavier as it does so. While the American model has barely a drop of rain across the Bay Area Wednesday. That rain in the American model likely isn't going to be arriving until Thursday, and it's just across our North Bay communities, while the European model has that constant rain going all day Wednesday and into Thursday, brings us anywhere 1.5 to 2 inches of rain through the end of the week, while the American model, the lower end totals anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, which is honestly still a very healthy rainfall total. It's mostly going to be beneficial rain that we're expecting later this upcoming week. Little to no flooding potential, but it's something we'll continue to keep a very close eye on. But moral of the story is we have quite a lot of time to get through until then, and I hope everybody can get outdoors, enjoy some really, really lovely weather before the cooler, the cloudier, and the wetter conditions arrive later this upcoming week.
Coming up, we look at another problem linked to the government shutdown, how a North Bay woman is doing her part to feed anyone who is struggling during the standoff in Washington.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our Saturday showcase. I'm Max Darrow. We now turn our focus to people working to address food insecurity during the interruption in federal benefits. In a moment, John Ramos will show us how employees at an East Bay food bank are providing a lifeline to a growing number of recipients. But first to Amanda Harry and the woman in Nevada who has turned her free library into a source for basic necessities.
A little free library, once filled with banned books, is now stocked with basic necessities.
Sometimes we just need to take care of each other.
Siobhan Gibson just put up the little free library in March, calling it the Blacklisted Bookshelf. She lives just down the road from San Marin High School in Nevada. She wanted the kids to have access to books like Catcher in the Rye and To Kill a Mockingbird. But then the government shut down.
I decided about a week ago, realizing the SNAP benefits are going to run out, I'm going to pivot to a food pantry.
She buys all the supplies to fill the libraries herself, but says it's worth every penny. She knows because she was once hungry.
There was a time that I didn't have enough food, and there were, I used to think it was 3, now that I remember there were 4 people who helped me, no questions asked. And I've never forgotten them, and I still know their names.
So now she's paying it forward. One of the little free libraries is stocked with shelf-stable essentials. We have soup, pasta, and even some pet food. The other has toiletries, like toothbrushes, body wash, and feminine hygiene products. Over at North Marin Community Services, they're also trying to fill the gaps.
This room is converted into a food pantry, and over 275 households
come through this room every Tuesday.
CEO Cheryl Paddock says since the news of SNAP running out, they've received more donations, both food and monetarily, allowing them to start planning a second food pantry day each week, something that's desperately needed.
Our 53-year nonprofit has never been busier, probably even busier than during the pandemic.
They do have a smaller pantry of shelf-stable food available to low-income Novato residents Monday through Friday during business hours. Gibson's Little Free Library, while smaller, is another option, open 24/7. She's just finished building a third one.
This will be a permanent pantry that's going to have food and tampons.
The other two will eventually go back to books, but not until the government opens back up. Every time she goes out to stock the shelves, she's grateful to see that it's empty and making a difference.
It gives me hope. It's been a really dark year for a lot of people, so it kind of gives me hope that we're all going to get through this together.
Bay Area food banks seeing a surge in demand because of the disruption in federal SNAP benefits. John Ramos introduces us to workers now doing their part to meet everybody's needs.
For a long time, the food bank was seen as a safety net for people in the most dire financial situations. But with the way things have changed, now, for a large segment of the population, it has become the very foundation of their survival. One look at the line at this food distribution in San Pablo reveals how vast the demand is on the food banks these days.
We're expecting at least 500 families to come out to our distribution at Contra Costa College.
When Gio Donoso opened his food line this afternoon, it was a little hard to believe, but not really very surprising.
I think it just speaks about just the current state of people being able to manage and to meet their needs. I think everyone is working hard to take care of their families, and even with that, it's hard to make ends meet. People are very aware that the resources, the support that they got from CalFresh is gone. And without that type of support, they're gonna have to try and find other ways to feed their families.
With SNAP, people get financial assistance to purchase groceries on a debit card. But the shutdown of the program has instantly thrown thousands of people onto food lines they may never have experienced before. The whole thing has the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano scrambling to keep up.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for calling the food bank. This is JP. How can I help you?
JP Contreras was busy all day fielding calls from people wondering where they can find food.
Are people pretty scared right now?
Yes. There's a lot of fear of, especially our most vulnerable populations. I'm talking about seniors or people with disabilities. We're also getting a huge increase in people that they had never had to use our services before altogether, not just SNAP recipients. But now that we're in it, like, we know at the best SNAP benefits are going to be delayed. So in that meantime, food banks were getting ready to fill in that gap, right?
And it's a huge gap to fill. For every one food bank client, it's estimated that 9 people were getting help from SNAP. Now, with the federal government saying there might be partial benefits at an unknown time, the uncertainty is making things even harder.
There has been confusion ever since the government shutdown started, and that panic and anxiety is really taking a toll on people experiencing hunger in our community. Benefits are paused, and there is no clear timeline for when benefits will be reinstated. Right now, we're hearing partial benefits will happen at some point, but we know it'll take at least a few weeks for even partial benefits to be loaded on the cards.
The problem was not lost on Zachary Harris. The Richmond resident stopped by the food bank headquarters to write a check to donate to the cause.
What we're going through is a little bit crazy. And yeah, if we can help out, go ahead and do it. Hopefully this will make things a little bit more normal.
And back at the food line, there was no shortage of people willing to volunteer.
It just brightens my heart whenever there's a crisis or a hard time in the community. People always come together. We always look for the helpers, and they're right here.
Even during COVID, SNAP benefits continued, so not surprisingly, the food bank is asking for financial help from the public to meet this unprecedented demand. It appears that as long as the standoff in Washington continues, it will fall to the community to provide for its most vulnerable.
Contra Costa County leaders also planning to help fill the gap by distributing grocery debit cards to more than 100,000 CalFresh enrollees. To make that happen, the Board of Supervisors declared a local emergency this week. That allowed the county to get more money from its reserve funds. Officials say it'll cost up to $21 million to provide those cards for a single month. Coming up after the break, how a family loss motivated 3 local teenagers to build an affordable device that can detect lung cancer in its early stages. We find out how it works. We turn now to significant advances in the Bay Area in detecting and treating 2 forms of cancer. In a moment, Elizabeth Cook will show us how doctors are helping patients with a certain type of breast cancer recover without the need for surgery. But first to Kevin Coe and the teenagers who have developed a low-cost method to detect lung cancer in its earliest stages.
And then I just blow in the bag, takes just around 10 to 15 seconds.
A big breath into this small device could possibly save countless lives from lung cancer. This machine was created by these 3 high school seniors, all because of one man.
My grandfather, he was diagnosed with a lung issue, and it was diagnosed kind of late, which kind of, if it was diagnosed earlier, it could have helped him.
What could have helped was a less invasive, more affordable, and quicker test compared to biopsies, CT scans, and top-of-the-line breath-based cancer detection.
It cost like 60 grand, and that was like the gold standard of what was being used at the time for breath-based lung cancer detection. We know we're not going to beat the accuracy of that expensive device, but we just wanted to make a cheaper version that could still work.
It works by detecting markers in the breath that could signify lung cancer, an important step in early detection. They set out to create an affordable and accurate device.
So we had to drill a hole for the inlet to go, and then we had to use these rubber grommets on the inside as well to make sure it's airtight. What we need to do is define sensors first that can detect the changes, right, between a healthy patient and then a lung cancer patient.
About a year and a half later, their device is more promising than ever. It's nearly 100% accurate. The students are in discussions with a scientific journal for publication, and the total cost for the device, just about $200. What's hard to put a price on is the journey for these aspiring engineers, who say they've already found their callings.
Even though we spent a lot of time, I felt like I was having fun the whole way, so that's kind of what I want to do.
Incredible pioneering work here in the Bay Area from some brilliant young teens. All right, pioneering doctors at UCSF, they're working on a way to attack a particular kind of breast cancer with fewer drawbacks than the typical treatment has. Elizabeth Cook asked them why it could be a genuine breakthrough.
10 years ago, Judy Lee, then a 45-year-old busy mom of 2 young children, got the call that stopped her in her tracks. She had breast cancer.
Do I need surgery? Am I going to lose my breasts? Will I be okay? Will I be here to see my kids graduate from school, from elementary?
Judy's cancer is known as DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, a non-invasive form of breast cancer that develops in the milk ducts of the breast. It's often called early stage or stage 0 breast cancer. According to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, 20 to 25% of breast cancers are considered DCIS. Even though it's highly curable, the traditional standard of treatment can be intense.
About 90% at the time of women had mastectomy or hysterectomy. So they had treatment, they had surgery. And so those were the statistics I was looking at, and they were pretty scary.
Judy was open to a new approach. She found Dr. Laura Esserman at UCSF, a pioneer in breast cancer research. She had been doing active surveillance to avoid surgery on DCIS patients for over 15 years.
It is no picnic to get a mastectomy, and it's certainly no picnic to have a bilateral mastectomy. And if you don't really need it, that's the way we always used to do it. And if you don't know any better, but what if you don't need it?
Dr. Esserman, along with UCSF radiologist Dr. Heather Greenwood, launched the RECAST trial in February of 2024, the study they call watchful waiting instead of traditional treatment.
DCIS by itself is not life-threatening. It's a window of opportunity to figure out how to prevent you getting invasive cancer. And everyone has the opportunity to find out how they respond. And at 6 months, they can make a decision about what they want to do based on what their response to therapy is.
We can find it so early that it doesn't yet have the capability to go to other places in the body. And what part of this trial is figuring out how do we best treat that? Do we prevent it with hormone therapy? and which ones do we need to take out surgically.
Every 6 months, Judy is screened for any change in her cancer with a specific MRI scan, tests, and medication. There were moments when she wondered if she made the right decision not to go under the knife.
I remember thinking that, gosh, this is not for the faint of heart every 6 months. And I can now appreciate the current standard, if you will, of just basically getting it cut out, because that's 100% at that moment. That certainty.
10 years after her diagnosis, Judy has avoided any major surgery. She is still closely watched by Dr. Esterman and her team twice a year.
Clinical trials are tomorrow's treatments today. Not everything that you think is going to work will work. That's why you have to test it. But everything that we do that's good and better has been done because we've done it as a trial and tried something new.
1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, and it's the second leading cause of cancer deaths. Dr. Esterman and her team at UCSF hope studying this disease at the earliest stages will lead to better outcomes for women with all stages of breast cancer. The future of breast cancer treatment may mean less is more.
Coming up, a Union Square building once on the edge of closing is about to get a big makeover. We'll introduce you to the people who want to transform one of San Francisco's best-known department stores. Now to some ongoing efforts at revitalization in Bay Area communities. In a moment, Suji Nam will show us how community leaders are making the most of a big donation to try to reshape East Oakland. But first to Kelsey Thorud and the people envisioning what the Macy's building in San Francisco's Union Square could become.
Michael Covarrubias, the chairman and CEO of TMG Partners, knows exactly how much Macy's flagship store in San Francisco's Union Square means to the city.
I had a nightmare a couple of nights ago as we were getting ready to do this, that we were going to send out an email or put an ad in the paper said, we want everybody's opinion, so please send us your ideas, and being inundated with this, mountain of ideas which may or may not make sense.
On Tuesday, Michael's firm, TMG Partners, announced it would be teaming up with Macy's to reinvent the iconic department store. And while the partnership is in its earliest of stages, Michael says the possibilities for what the building could become are thrilling.
Housing is a possible use, entertainment is a possible use, retail is obviously the key to Union Square. It's got 2 sides, it's got O'Farrell, it's got Geary, it's got Stockton, so there's a lot of variable aspects to it.
Macy's announced back in February of 2024 that the flagship store would be shuttering. The reason, among many factors, sluggish sales. Since then, fear and curiosity over what would come of the building has gripped those who cherish Union Square. Michael says this agreement should quell those fears. His vision for the building is to keep its historic charm while also playing to more modern needs.
At the end of the day, it's going to be a new feature for Union Square, which in and of itself is undergoing a lot of change. There are new tenants coming in, old tenants are leaving. There's a demand for housing, which I think people are talking about. They're talking about converting office to residential. So all of that is in play, and it's all really exciting because of the new political landscape.
Michael is referring to Mayor Daniel Lurie, who has made a point over this past year to bring new tenants like Nintendo and Pop Mart into Union Square. Michael says he and the mayor have a very good working relationship, something the mayor seconded as he was heading into a real estate conference at Moscone Center, where coincidentally he was being introduced to the crowd by Covarrubias.
I want anyone who wants to do business in San Francisco to know that the door is open. We just want everybody to be involved. I know the head of that development corporation is committed to San Francisco. He's been here for decades and cares deeply about our city.
Michael says the mayor's strong interest in revitalizing Union Square will help quicken the process of completing the new building. He hopes to include both high-end and more family-friendly retail in the plans for the space, with the hopes of keeping it a destination for both locals and tourists alike. Outside of the Macy's, everyone we spoke with was a tourist. All of them told me they were sad to hear the Macy's would be changing, but happy something new would be coming to the area.
We didn't know there was a Macy's here at first, but we just came out of this Macy's, and I was just telling my wife this is the best Macy's.
If it serves the needs of the people, then absolutely.
In East Oakland, a so-called Black cultural zone is working to create an entertainment district along with affordable housing and businesses. Suji Nam introduces us to people who are striving to turn their vision into reality.
So right now we're headed to the headquarters of Ruth's Community Health. They're one of our 40 by 40 partners.
It's a walk down memory lane for Ari Curry.
This is a set of 3 buildings that we recently acquired.
He's taking a stroll through the East Oakland neighborhood he grew up in.
For me, this is very personal. East Oakland is part of who I am. And I've been really fortunate.
Working with the Black Cultural Zone, he is a part of a greater revitalization initiative known as the Rise East 40 by 40 project.
That runs from the foothills, kind of like where the MacArthur Freeway is, down to the water, and then from about 70th to the San Leandro border. That encompasses the 40 by 40.
Community vote on different layouts. So
the nonprofit raised $100 million to invest in resources like healthcare and workforce development, along with projects like the Food Market Hall and more than 100 affordable housing units along 73rd Avenue.
So what do you want to see? Lots of murals, lots of grass.
CJ Johnson, the CEO of Black Cultural Zone, says most of the residents in this neighborhood are African American and have faced inequities for decades.
Forced to live here as things were disinvested, and so you see the lack of access to good retail, to good food, to good education, to parks, to safety. That's been going on for a long time. Also, this was a real center for foreclosures.
And Johnson looks forward to revitalizing the vacant storefronts near Liberation Park, riddled with graffiti, into safe spaces for the community.
Displacement pushes us out even further, which breaks up homes and communities. You need auntie around the corner to take care of the little kid while you go grab some from the store. That's how I grew up. And so the goal really is to bring that back.
Watch your step, watch your step.
And that is a vision for Curry as well. Walking through a former karate dojo, soon to be revamped into an entertainment space. From an empty building to a place of hope.
Well, as you can see, it's still very much a work in progress, but if all goes well, the goal of the project is to be complete within the next 5 years.
Well, I have to point out a really cool optical phenomenon that we're seeing. It's called a glory. Do you see this little rainbow around? First of all, a gorgeous picture, a gorgeous shot of the shadow of Mark Hopkins that is on the clouds, but also the rainbow. That's called a glory. It's really cool. I had to point it out for you all just to start off our day, but most of us are below the fog, below the clouds. It's not nearly as beautiful unless you're on the tippy top of those buildings. Right now, though, our temperatures are quiet. They are comfortable. By the afternoon hours, they'll be warming up. It's going to be a gorgeous day out there. Those temperatures all across the Bay Area sitting in the mid to upper 70s, downtown San Francisco even in the low 70s and upper 60s closer to our coastal communities. By tomorrow, we'll be noticing those temperatures getting deeper and darker in red, and that signifies the widespread 80s returning to the area, 80s across our inland communities, North Bay and down into the Santa Clara Valley, and even into the mid to upper 70s in downtown San Francisco. Enjoy it while you can, because by the time that we step out late this upcoming week, we are going to be seeing more widespread moisture. All until then, though, high pressure will be dominating, at least through Monday. By Tuesday, more widespread cloud coverage arrives. By late Wednesday and into Thursday, more widespread moisture arrives. That is going to be our next big push of rain that, again, is going to be moving in late Wednesday and into Thursday of this upcoming week. All until then, though, it'll be quiet. It'll be calm. It's going to be really lovely and potentially the last 80s of the year. So get out this weekend and enjoy it. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Zoe. Coming up, a library allows people to be as loud as they want. We'll meet the South Bay librarian who welcomes all the noise. Finally this morning, some Bay Area libraries are making noise with a new no shushing policy. Itai Hodge shows us how visitors and a leading librarian are enjoying the change.
You know the sound, that unmistakable, that echoed through libraries for generations. But here at the Morgan Hill branch, they decided to give shushing the silent treatment. For 4-year-old Luna and her little brother Jude, that means the most exciting story in the library isn't bound in hardback. It's at the bottom of a slide. Their nanny, Tiffany Negron, says this is the first library where the only thing hushed is her stress.
They could be as loud as they want, and we get smiles instead of being shushed.
Once upon a time, silence was golden in libraries. Now noise is part of the plot.
Do you want me to hold your hand?
The real page turner is a new play space with board games.
You can try looking for the animal.
Scavenger hunts.
Look inside.
Even a mini observatory complete with telescopes and stars.
Nice.
And Morgan Hill isn't alone. Libraries across the country are checking out the same idea. That community grows louder when you let people talk. Is it even a library if you don't get shushed?
Oh, absolutely.
Jennifer Weeks is the Santa Clara County librarian. She says libraries have always adapted. And this is just the latest chapter in trying to keep up with the times.
You don't learn how to be a good reader by sitting still.
A 2020 study found that installing play and learn spaces in Philadelphia libraries boosted attendance at children's programs by nearly 190%. In Morgan Hill, attendance has seen a 20% jump in just the last 4 months.
Which one's that one?
For Luna and Jude, it's been a game changer. They've gone from reading about 10 books a week to nearly 30. Because around here, the only thing being shelved is the old idea of what a library should be.
Thanks for watching KPIX News this morning. Don't forget the news continues all day streaming CBS News Bay Area. Have a great Saturday.